St. Petersburg, the 1900s, above the cobblestone streets of the imperial capital, which smelled of horse manure and coal smoke, floated a strange silhouette resembling a giant silver fish. This was Vladimir Tatarov's Erebur, a daring creation of engineering genius, a wheeled airship. Inhalation. Sestroretsk Resort, St. Petersburg, 1913. The white pavilion stood serene against the Baltic breeze. Inside, the air was thick with the sharp, medicinal scent of pine and eucalyptus, a world away from the city's soot. Patients, wrapped in blankets, sat in orderly rows, their faces obscured by the ceramic funnels of inhalers. They breathed deeply, drawing the vaporous cure into their lungs, a silent, almost ritualistic communion between ailment and the promise of a remedy. Inhalation. Sestroretsk Resort, St. Petersburg, 1913. The white pavilion stood serene against the Baltic breeze. Inside, the air was thick with the sharp, medicinal scent of pine and eucalyptus, a world away from the city's soot. Patients, wrapped in blankets, sat in orderly rows, their faces obscured by the ceramic funnels of inhalers. They breathed deeply, drawing the vaporous cure into their lungs, a silent, almost ritualistic communion between ailment and the promise of a remedy. Founded by Peter the Great in 1703 on captured swamps, St. Petersburg embodies imperial ambition. For 2 centuries, it served as the opulent Russian capital, witnessing palace coups, the Decembrist uprising, and the storming of the Winter Palace in 1917. It endured the brutal 900-day siege during World War II, a testament to its resilience. From its grand canals to its majestic palaces, the city's very stones whisper tales of tsars, revolutions, and enduring art. St. Petersburg is a city sculpted by water. The wide, swift Neva River is its lifeblood, while a labyrinth of canals stitches together its grand avenues and embankments. These waters reflect the city's imperial grandeur, the Baroque palaces and golden spires. Yet, they also tell of its defiance, having flooded the streets for centuries. More than just scenery, they are the city's soul, a constant, shimmering mirror to its history and resilient beauty. The Church of the Savior on spilled blood defiantly pierces the Petersburg sky with its jewel-toned domes. It marks the very spot where Emperor Alexander II was assassinated, a sanctuary born from tragedy. Its facade, a mosaic of intricate patterns, gives way to an interior entirely sheathed in glowing, narrative mosaics. This is not merely a church, it is a breathtaking monument to memory, an imperial promise of resurrection etched in stone and gold. The streets of St. Petersburg are stages for history. The Nevsky Prospect has witnessed everything from imperial carriage processions to the first murmurs of revolution. It was here that crowds gathered during the February Revolution of 1917, and where the city defiantly survived the siege. Every cobblestone has echoed with the march of soldiers, the debates of intellectuals, and the silent resilience of its people, forever bearing the imprint of a tumultuous past. St. Petersburg's soul lives in its enduring traditions. The city celebrates the White Nights with romantic, sleepless walks along the embankments. The thunder of a cannon shot from the Peter and Paul fortress still marks noon daily, a custom dating back to Peter the Great. Elegant balls once held in palaces gave way to the intellectual tradition of philosophical debates in cozy kitchens, a unique cultural ritual of the Soviet intelligentsia. St. Petersburg was an impossible dream, willed into existence by Tsar Peter the Great on a desolate, swampy delta. Thousands of serfs paid with their lives, draining marshes and driving piles into the unstable ground to support majestic palaces. From this brutal sacrifice rose a breathtakingly elegant capital, a window to the West built in a mere few decades. Its harmonious facades and grand canals stand as a stark. Rising from the Neva's depths, St. Petersburg's first bridges were monuments of wood and engineering, connecting a city of islands. They were pragmatic and often drawbridges, allowing for the passage of imperial ships. As the capital grew, stone and cast iron replaced timber, giving rise to the ornate, legendary bridges we know today, like the Anichkov with its horse tamers. Each bridge is a chapter in the city's history, a permanent yet moving link between its storied banks. Leningrad, 1970. The winter air was sharp and carried the smell of coal from apartment stoves. Dimly lit streets, blanketed in snow, echoed with the clatter of trams. In long queues for milk, people huddled in shapeless coats, their breath forming clouds in the frozen air, sharing quiet jokes, a quiet, collective resilience against the deepening cold of the Brezhnev era. Before the roar of engines, St. Petersburg moved to the clip-clop of hooves. Elegant horse-drawn carriages, called linika, plied the Nevsky Prospect, carrying citizens across the cobblestones. The city's veins were its canals, bustling with cargo barges. This graceful, slower pace defined the imperial era, a world of polished wood and brass, soon to be replaced by the clanging arrival of the first electric trams. The Winter Palace is more than a Tsar's residence, it is a symbol of Imperial Russia itself. Its majestic, Baroque green and white facade overlooks the Neva, housing the unimaginable wealth of the Hermitage. Yet, its history is etched in fire and revolution. It was stormed by the Bolsheviks in 1917, an event that changed the world forever. Today, it stands as a silent, powerful witness to the dramatic rise and fall of empires, its halls echoing with centuries of splendor and upheaval. In 1960s Leningrad, entertainment was a quiet rebellion. Youth flocked to newly opened cafes like the Saigon on Nevsky Prospect, buzzing with poetry and whispered debates. Jazz rhythms, often unofficial, pulsed in cramped apartments. Summers were for the Baltic Sea beaches, while winters saw intellectual gatherings in communal kitchens. It was a decade of seeking authenticity, where simple moments of connection and underground art became the greatest luxuries. Building St. Petersburg's first roads was a Herculean task. Upon the swampy Neva Delta, workers laid layers of logs as a foundation, a technique still felt today in the city's slight unevenness. These corduroy roads were later covered with gravel and cobblestones, hauled by barges along the canals that served as the primary transport arteries. The city's grand, straight avenues were born from this brutal labor, a testament to the human cost of Peter the Great's imperial vision.